Hello, my name is Rebecca McIntyre, and welcome to my signature project presentation titled Unequal Measures Rethinking Standardized Testing for Diverse Learners. This project examines how high stakes assessments, specifically ACAP and MClass, affect our diverse learners at Meadowview Elementary, particularly students with IEPs, students experiencing poverty, and students who struggle with test anxiety. The purpose of this study is to understand whether standardized tests alone accurately reflect what our students truly know and can do. In this slide, you'll see the data that first led me to develop this project. Our ACAP reading data shows clear gaps in proficiency between general education students and students with IEPs, as well as students from low socioeconomic backgrounds. Although these percentages vary by grade, the pattern remains consistent. Students who receive accommodations or come from economically disadvantaged homes score significantly lower than their peers, even with their daily classroom performance is strong. Seeing how large these gaps were made me question whether ACAP scores alone were providing an accurate picture of student ability. Early literacy data shows similar concerns. Our in-class results for kindergarten show a high percentage of students labeled well below benchmark. What stood out to me was that M-class does not offer a subgroup breakdown we see in the ACAP. So even though I can see our overall school level for early reading weaknesses, I cannot easily determine how students with disabilities or high poverty compare within this assessment framework. Yet teachers repeatedly shared that many of these same students perform better during small group instruction or hands-on activities in the classroom. This mismatch pushed me deeper into the problem. Both ACAP and M-class data revealed a recurring issue. Many students, especially students with IEPs, demonstrate greater mastery in the classroom than they do on standardized tests. You also see the same situation with students that have test anxiety. This discrepancy raised important questions. Are these tests measuring their true ability? Are the accommodations being used consistently? Are we incorporating the proper accommodations when students are receiving these assessments? Are we judging student performance based on a tool that doesn't reflect their learning style, their anxiety levels, or their social emotional context? These questions became the foundation of my research problem. At Meadowview Elementary School, we serve approximately 350 students in pre-K through 6th grade. Many of our learners face socioeconomic challenges, and several receive specialized instruction or accommodations through IEPs. I noticed that students who participate confidently in class froze during high stake testing. Others who successfully completed modified instruction struggled on timed assessments or multi step reading passages. This disconnect between classroom ability and testing performance is what led me to investigate whether high stakes tests alone can fairly measure achievement for diverse learners. Research supports these concerns. Terada in 2022 explains that high stakes testing increases anxiety and can widen performance gaps among vulnerable learners. Boone and the colleagues of 2007 research found that students with disabilities often face disproportionate challenges during standardized assessments. Additional research found that many students' scores reflect barriers such as anxiety, lack of accommodations, or language complexity rather than actual academic skills. These findings mirror what I'm seeing daily in my classroom. During my research, Simmons and Walker of 2018 highlights that standardized tests can be inaccurate and sometimes misleading when used as sole indicator of achievement. Other research notes that high stakes testing narrows curriculum and pressures teachers to teach to the test instead of teaching the skills that are necessary for these students. At the Alabama State Department of Education, the school report cards also reflect statewide disparities in achievement linked to socioeconomic status. Taken together, the literature supports the need for more balanced, inclusive, and flexible assessment systems. Universal Designs, or UDL, provides a framework that emphasizes multiple means of engagement, representations, and expression. During my research, I found that students with disabilities benefit when assessments allow them to demonstrate understanding in different ways. Research also found and argues that portfolios, performance tasks, and project based assessments capture student strengths better than standardized testing. This literature guided me towards considering alternate test assessment methods in my action plan. This study is a proposed project, meaning the full research has not been conducted yet, so all results are projected as well. My intervention focus on comparing a student outcome is standardized tests, ACAP and MClass are used alone, and a multi a multimodal assessment framework based on UDL is incorporated into instruction and evaluation. The goal is to determine whether alternate assessments reveal abilities that high stakes tests fail to capture, especially for those of diverse learning styles. So let's talk about pre and post data tools. My pre data came from ACAP scaled scores in reading and math of 2024, M class reading benchmarks in 2024, teacher interviews about classroom performance and accommodations. My post data, the projected post data would include ACAP and M class results following more consistent implementation of accommodations, classroom based multimodal assessments such as writing samples, performance tasks, and project rubrics. The proposed project timeline spans April through November, April of 2024 through November of 2025. In April, students complete ACAP and M-class assessments. Between April and May, I would conduct teacher interviews and gather background information. From April to November, I would analyze the newest data, compare subgroup outcomes, and develop recommendations for more equitable assessment framework. This provides a structured 7-month research window. My sample includes 4 classes that participate in ACAP or M class. ACAP sample is 49 students across 4th and 6th grades. M class sample would be 41 students in kindergarten and 1st grade. Instead of using complex research terms, I simply group students by characteristics such as IEP status, socioeconomic status, and whether they received accommodations. This made comparisons meaningful and accessible. Collaboration was essential. General education's teachers shared classroom performance data and insight into student needs. Special education teachers helped vary how accommodations were implemented. Administrators support access to school wide data and scheduling for interviews. Internal validity was strengthened by using consistent state mandated assessments administered to all students. External validity is supported because MetaView's demographics many other high poverty schools, making findings acceptable beyond our building. Ethical considerations. Confidentiality is important, especially because you're considering using IEPs and sensitive classified information, as well as minors. The accommodations remain unchanged. Confidentiality would be maintained through secure data storage, coded identifiers, and parental consent. Limitations would include one school site, reliance on existing test data, limited time for interviews, my dual role as a teacher and as a researcher. IRB approval through the University of West Alabama, as well as district level permissions from Selma City School, would be required before conducting the study. This research directly supports academic and social well being. Academically, it helps us determine whether our current assessments truly reflect student growth. Long term, it encourages the use of multiple measures that capture a fuller picture of student ability. I expect to find persistent gaps between IEPs and low socioeconomic status students and peers. Clear evidence that classroom performance and multimodal assessments reveal strength that ACAP and M-Class overlook. True student achievement growth would look like more students moving from below benchmark to at or above benchmark and a narrowing of subgroup performance gaps. Strengths of this study include a combination of quantitative and qualitative data and a focus on equity. However, several gaps do exist. No direct student surveys, no full pilot of UDL aligned assessments, limited generalizability due to one school, reliance on test data, release timelines. Reflecting on these gaps helps strengthen my vision for the next steps. If I were redesigning this study, I would add student voice through surveys, pilot a UDL based assessment unit, include parents in discussions about test expectations, and extend the study over multiple years to observe trends. The next step is to present these findings to teacher teams and leaderships at Mediview. A logical starting point is to pilot multimedia assessments in one grade level while continuing to analyze ACAP and M-Class data. This project contributes to the field of demonstrating how a small, high poverty school can examine its own data through an equity lens and advocate for practices that value student strengths, not just their test scores. Thank you so much for viewing my presentation. My hope is that this project not only helps us better understand the students we serve, but also encourages more equitable, meaningful, and student centered assessment practices at Meadowview Elementary. I appreciate your time.